Hey guys, Rhett here. What's going on? Thanks for watching. Want to talk to you today about why you should never rent to a cash tenant in certain markets. Okay? Now, I want to talk a little bit about a cash tenant versus Section 8 tenant. Of course, you're here on the channel. You guys understand that Section 8 tenants, they have stipends that pay the rent, and most of the times a extremely high percentage of that rent. They have stipends that cover the utilities for the unit. So as the owner and landlord, the only thing that you're responsible for is your mortgage if you pay it, and if you finance it. If you buy it in cash, then you don't have to. So mortgage and insurance. Those are the only two things that as an owner of a Section 8 unit, you are going to be responsible for. The tenant will take care of all the utilities, yard work, and everything else, and rent, everything that you don't have to worry about. And most times the government's paying for all of that. So people like to use units as cash rentals when you can get more money than you can from a Section 8 tenant in certain markets. Now, what I want to talk today about specifically is turnover. Okay, now turnover is when a tenant in your unit leaves, and then you have to take that unit, you have to go and do what's called turnover work to the unit. You have to have your photographer go over, take pictures of the unit, put the unit up online, market the unit, get new tenants in, vet new tenants. Once you choose a tenant, have them sign a lease, get them in the unit, and start a new lease. Okay. Now, tenant turnover is normal. Okay. It is a normal part of being a real estate investor who holds long-term units. Now, with that being said, turnover is perhaps the most detrimental, okay, issue that landlords face when they have rental units. Now, anybody that has rental units already, you understand that turnover is the worst thing, and I'll explain to you why. So, for example, say we have a tenant in a unit, they sign a 1-year lease, so a 12-month lease, okay? You're making, say your net cash flow on every unit is $500, okay? So you're making $500 a month. You make that $500 a month, that tenant leaves. When they leave, guys, human beings, okay, they do damage to units. Now, if you have somebody in a unit for 20 years, you don't have to do any turnover work. You don't have to do the little touch-up paint work. You don't have to do the little screws and the little outlets that got busted and the tiny holes in the walls, and all the paint that's messed up, and fix the toilet that's a little bit loose, and do that little window pane that cracked, and when the kids were playing ball in the house and they hit that window, they cracked the corner of that window. You don't have to change that. Now, if that's requested of you, of course you should. But when someone's in a unit, you don't have to go in and do this stuff all the time. When somebody leaves a unit, you have to go in there and make sure it's really tight and really nice for that next tenant. Now, the problem with that is it costs money. Okay, so say we have that 12-month lease. Our tenant was great. They move out after 12 months, but they've done normal wear and tear to the unit because that's just what human beings do. It's dirty. Okay, there might have been kids living there. They tore up some stuff. There's some drywall work. There's some paint touch-up work. There's holes in the walls. People were putting, they were hanging stuff on the walls. There were a couple TV racks on the walls. We got to mud those. We got to repaint those. There's some cracked window panes. There's a couple pieces of cracked glass. Okay, now, for damage, you can go into a security deposit and take that, okay? But for normal wear and tear, you can't. You have to pay that out of pocket, okay? So 12 months, we got paid $500 a month. Month 13, we are paying money, okay? We're paying money. So money's coming out of our pocket. Say we pay $1,500. We got to get the unit cleaned. We got to do all the touch-up work. We might have to go in and change some light fixtures out. We might have to fix some small things. And guys, things are expensive. They add up quick. So we put $1,500 in, okay? Not only are we putting $1,500 in that first month, but nobody's paying us rent, okay? So we're losing $1,500. Now, $1,500 in real estate is not that much money. But when you think about it, like $15, that's my net for 3 months. I'm losing. So now when I put a tenant in this unit, hopefully by month 2, I'm not going to actually make any money month 3, 4, or 5 because I'm already out $1,500. So that's 5 months in now, right? To year 2, and we're 5 months in. I'm still not green, right? There's only 7 months left of the month. So turnover's vicious. Not only that, but that's assuming we get a tenant pretty quickly. We got to go in there. We got to do the rehab work and the turnover work that's needed. We take photos of the units, put them on the market, and now we got to find a tenant. And that's a pain in the butt for any of you who have ever done that, okay? You got to vet the tenants. You got to check all their information. You got to make sure they're the right person for the unit. And then at that point, now what we have to do is put them in the unit and make sure they're good tenants. So there are a lot of things that are out of our control during that time. Who's going to apply for our unit? Hopefully it's somebody good, right? So say we do find somebody in that unit. It's just months where we're not making any money. So as landlords, we want to try and keep tenants in units as long as we can. And one of the ways we do that is we put good things in units. My coaching clients will tell you there is a extreme difference in the homes that we do from scratch and that we do significant rehab on versus the homes that we inherit. And you see that from a maintenance standpoint, the homes that we rehab up front, we don't have any maintenance issues over the long term, or nearly as much as units that we buy that already have Section 8 tenants in them cash flowing. We see a lot more issues over the long term with those units because things might be done shoddy. We didn't go in and do tons of rehab on them, but that's just kind of a part of this. So with Section 8 tenants, guys, on average, the tenants that stay in my unit stay between 10 and 14 years. Insanity, okay? That's virtually 7.5 times longer than a cash tenant stays. So when you think about that, if you have one Section 8 tenant that stays for 12 years in one unit, that's $0 in turnover work. Now, of course, you might have to do some small maintenance over that course, but $0 in turnover. On average, a cash tenant will stay in a unit for under 2 years, okay? So that's virtually 6 times of turnover in a cash unit versus a Section 8 unit, okay? Now, 6 turnovers. If we're averaging $1,500 per turnover, that's $9,000 that we're spending, not to mention the money we're losing, because in month 1 and 2 of that example we gave a little bit ago, you're not making any money, right? So you're losing. The way I look at that is when a unit's vacant, I'm not making money. I'm losing $500 a month, okay, on top of what I'm paying for the rehab, okay? So you're losing a ton of money. We have to limit turnover. We have to limit turnover. We have to limit turnover. The best way to limit turnover, guys, not even a question, it is to have Section 8 tenants and to use it the right way. Now, why is Section 8 turnover less? Well, the process to get a Section 8 tenant in a unit is a little harder than it is to get a cash tenant, right? We have to pass a government inspection on the unit. We have to discuss the terms and the rental amounts with caseworkers. There's a lot of back and forth between our management companies and the caseworkers. We're vetting tenants, right? There is such a ridiculous pool of these Section 8 tenants, and there is such an extreme demand that when we put a Section 8 unit up on the market and there's people overrunning it to try and get it, and there's 20 applicants for the unit, and we have to choose one, that's 19 people that don't get a unit. So the process for these Section 8 tenants to get units is also extremely hard. So you couple the process being hard and a lot of back and forth and having it be timely and having to pass inspections, add that to the list, and then you say, okay, well, there's extreme demand to get these units. Once a tenant gets in a unit, they don't want to go through that again. They don't want to have to deal with that anymore. And because of that, they don't ever want to leave. The government's paying their rent. The process to get in was really hard. Why would they ever want to leave? Just provide them with a good spot. You never have to worry about turnover. People are like, oh, well, I don't like the Section 8 tenants because I had to do a little maintenance here and I had to do a little maintenance here. Well, guess what? That maintenance saved you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the long term that turnover would have made you pay. So if you don't understand, if you haven't rented a property yet, or you haven't owned a rental property, you might not fully grasp turnover. And that's what I'm trying to relay to you now. For my clients and for my viewers and subscribers who have rental units that have gone through turnover, you understand that it's the worst thing ever, and you want to limit it as best you can at all times. And guys, the best way to do it is to get Section 8 tenants, provide them a good place to live, have a good relationship with them, get a good management company, and have good work done up front. That is the best way to limit turnover. But if you're in a market where you have the option and the opportunity to get into Section 8, do it. Because over the long term, it's going to save you tons and tons and tons and tons of money on turnover. Okay? Guys, that's what I have for you today. If you have any questions, please leave your questions and comments below. I'll get to all of them, and we'll see you next time.